So you really want a Doberman, but there's just one problem. You gotta convince your family first. Maybe it's your parents, or maybe it's your significant other. Well, don't worry, because we're gonna do it together. First, we'll talk about some of the most common hesitations or hang-ups that most people have when it comes to getting a Doberman. That's really the meat of this video, what most of this video is going to be about. But at the end, we're going to talk about a couple specific scenarios. For example, convincing your significant other, which is, well, not to brag, but something I'm pretty good at. And then also, for you who still live with your folks, we'll talk about how to convince your parents to let you get a Doberman. So it's going to be your little inside scoop of what parents really want to hear. So stick to this video to the very end because you're going to love this. For some of the common hesitations that you're going to hear about owning a Doberman. Now, number one is that they're an aggressive and dangerous breed. And I think partially to blame for this is Hollywood and television, because the Doberman is almost always cast as the villain dog. You never really see him as the hero. And, you know, I think maybe some of the earlier dogs in this breed in the, early 1900s were probably a lot more intense and maybe even potentially aggressive than today's Doberman. But after just generations of breeding for families, you've ended up with a really docile, calm, well, they have their energy moments, but really docile, relaxed, great, loyal, loving, and caring, and still a little bit protective, which I think is a great quality family dog, like Arlo here, for example. Not a dangerous bone in his body. They're also the 5th smartest dog breed in the world. And as the 5th smartest, they're thinkers before they act. They don't just act on impulse alone, which I think when a dog acts on impulse alone is where you get a lot of dog bites. When they're a thinker, you don't get it that much. And so that's why I think you don't see it very much with the Doberman breed. In fact, there was a 13-year study that was done of all dog bite fatalities in the United States, and it was broken down by breed. And I'll link to the source in the description down below. But in that, I believe the Doberman was responsible for 1.4% of all the fatalities in the US. That is so incredibly low. It's even lower than Labrador Retriever at 2.1%. Yes, the Labrador Retriever is responsible for more deaths due to dog bites in the United States during those 13 years than the Doberman was. So I think it's fair to say that these dogs should not be categorized as dangerous or aggressive. The number 2 most common hesitation you're bound to run into is that they snap and turn on their owners. Now, this is a long-standing myth, probably from around the 1970s, ever since probably the release of that movie, They Only Kill Their Masters, I believe is the name of that movie. That movie starred Dobermans, and ever since then, there's just been this myth that they turn on their owners. It's just not true, and I think those dog bite statistics I just gave you really shows that. If that was a thing with this breed, those dog bite statistics would be significantly higher for this breed. But other than that, these dogs are consistently rated as among the most loyal dog breeds in the world, no matter what outlet you look at. Take a look. Google it for a while. Look at what are the most loyal dog breeds out there, and almost everywhere you look, the Doberman is rated in at least the top 10, usually the top 5. And loyal dogs just don't turn on their owners. That's kind of the point of being loyal. Next one is that they're a lot of work. Okay, that's true. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, let's actually talk about that one for a second. People say they're a lot of work because they have high exercise requirements, and they're adventurous dogs. They always want to be out seeing something new, engaging their brain and doing stuff. And good news for you, that means that you get to be more adventurous and active and getting exercise as well. So actually, it's a benefit for you. It's healthy for you mentally and physically. Thank you, Mr. Doberman. The next one is that they're too hyper. Well, they definitely are high energy dogs, but they're absolutely not hyper. When I think of a hyper dog, a lot of times you think of, at least I do, I think of a dog bouncing off the walls and never calming down. If you give a Doberman what they need, the exercise they need throughout the day, and the mental stimulation, you're gonna have a really calm, docile dog on your hands, especially in the evenings. And even as puppies, Dobermans do reach a stage where they're really calm and relaxed, usually at about 2 years of age. There are many breeds out there that stay hyper and bouncing off the walls all the way through adulthood and pretty much their whole life. That's not the Doberman. The Doberman is known for being a really stoic dog when they hit adulthood after about 2 years of age. The next one is that they're too big. Well, if you want to be technical about it, the AKC classifies the Doberman as a medium-sized dog breed. But, you know, it is pretty common for them to be 100 pounds. And in my mind, a 100-pound dog is a pretty large dog. So I do agree with that. But you know what? They don't know that they're big. They're kind of big lap dogs. They're very human focused, very focused on their owners, and they just want to be in your lap or right there on top of you, obviously, or chewing their Kong ball on you. But they're perfectly happy being curled up in a small bed in the corner of the room in a nice tight ball, as long as they are there in the room with their owners, of course. But yeah, so they might be big dogs, but they don't know that they are, and they're pretty easy to manage. So those are some of the most common hesitations you're gonna hear from your family members about getting a Doberman. But let's talk real quick about convincing your significant other, which is incredibly important because let's be honest, if you can't convince your significant other to be on board with this, you're gonna have very little chance of getting one of these amazing dogs. Up first, they'll protect the family, and that means you and your significant other. This is the only breed of dog that was ever created from the very beginning for the specific purpose of personal protection of humans. And a protective dog is much different, by the way, than an aggressive dog. A protective dog is gonna keep you guys safe, which is an incredibly good trait in my mind to have for a dog. Up next are just great companions, and what significant other wouldn't really appreciate that? They're really well known for how incredibly focused on their owners they are. So they're always keeping tabs on you. In the middle of the night at 3 a.m. you wake up, the dog's getting up with you. You're never gonna get up in the middle of the night alone again. You're gonna always have a dog to talk to. And I know it's the case with a lot of breeds, but these dogs they seem to engage more. They make direct eye contact a lot more than many other breeds. So that really makes that 3 a.m. Discussions with your Doberman and bonding time feel that much more satisfying. And it just makes bonding with them so much easier. I used to work graveyard shift, and whenever I'd come home, didn't matter what time of the night it was or early morning, my dog was there to hang out with and chat with. And it's just a really good feeling. Next up, they'll get you out of the house and doing things. Like I said, they have high exercise requirements. You'll be outside more. You'll be in the outdoors a whole lot more. And that's just good for you and good for the dog. But you know, what significant other wouldn't appreciate the mental and physical benefits that come with getting outdoors more often? You know, actually, that's a really good angle to take. You know, honey, I think it'll improve me mentally. Now, who wouldn't want to make some improvements in their partner? Okay, so for convincing your parents. Now, I'm a parent myself, so this is gonna be what they're gonna really wanna hear, kids. So pay close attention because this is gonna really help you make some real headway. Up first, just do your chores and things around the house without being asked. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh God, this guy's a dad. Of course he's saying that I should be doing my chores because that's what he wants his kids to do. No, but pay attention. There's a really specific reason for this. Now, your parents' greatest fears, whether they want to admit it or not, is to allow you to get something like a Doberman that requires a lot of work and a lot of time and commitment. And for you to just kind of later go, I'm not too interested, and just kind of start dropping the ball with things, and now they have to take over, right? And more work for them, and they already don't have enough time for that stuff. So the way you counteract that is by just starting to do things automatically on your own around the home. So that way they go, okay, well, hey, you know what? This kid's pretty responsible lately. I think he's gonna have no problem picking up the slack. He's shown he has no problem picking up other things around the house. So maybe a Doberman's not such a bad idea. Up next is the fewer childhood problems argument, which is a great one because there was a study done in 2020, a pediatric study, that showed that children that come from dog-owning households have fewer behavioral problems, fewer problems with their peers, and just overall less childhood difficulties is what they refer to it as in the study. And it promoted pro-social behavior from children who had dogs in the household. So those are all great, really great reasons that any parent would love to hear for their kid having a dog in the house. Up next is a self-esteem argument. Now, there's been just countless studies that show this, that owning a dog and growing up with one, you know, taking care of it, brushing it, feeding it, training it, all those types of things really helps build a sense of accomplishment in children, which leads to higher self-esteem and overall self-confidence as an adult. And let's be honest, what parent doesn't want their kid to grow up with high self-esteem and self-confidence. Up next is a Pet Health Council argument. Now, there's this organization in the UK called the Pet Health Council, and they look at how pets and their owners interact and a lot of the benefits of it. And they actually released a study recently called The Benefits of Pet Ownership for Children. And their article outlined a lot of amazing benefits that children will have if they grow up in a house with pets. That article will be linked in the description. It's a PDF that you can download and print out. And here's a few quotes from that article. Children with low self-esteem may talk to or confide in an animal in ways that they would not with people. They are often more confident in performing tasks they find difficult with an animal simply because the animal does not care if mistakes are made, nor will the child be afraid of looking silly in front of the animal. And here's another great one. Typically, children who are withdrawn become more confident in the presence of animals and participate more fully in lessons in class. Those who are hyperactive often become quiet, absorbed, and more focused in lessons. Now, before your parents come back with the argument, okay, well, that's a pet, so we'll get you a pet mouse, make sure that they realize that almost every study that involves the benefits of a pet to a child as they grow up almost always, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, uses a dog as the benchmark. Make sure your parents know that you want the benchmark pet. You want a dog, and more than that, you want the intelligent, loyal, and trainable Doberman. Then hey, why not show them my YouTube channel? A lot of my videos have kids interacting with Dobermans and just the really great bonding relationship that comes from it. If they spend any time on my channel at all, they'll see what loyal, loving, and gentle, amazing dogs these Dobermans are. And you know what? Just throw them off to me on my channel and I'll do the rest. This is usually the part of the video where I ask you to do something, right? I'll ask you to subscribe or like or comment or whatever. I'm not gonna ask you to do any of that this time. Not at all. What I want you to do is just do this one thing for me. Go out and tell 2 people that you haven't already. Tell 2 people what you like about the Doberman breed. It might actually just spur a great conversation and a chance for you to really spread the word about how great this breed is. And it might actually be doing more benefits for this breed than you think by just having those 2 conversations. So that's all I'm gonna ask you. Go out there, be a great Doberman breed ambassador, and just tell 2 people why you like this breed so much. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Of course, he's pretty much asleep, so I'm gonna have to see you next time.